Code Explained says hi. So for today's part, we're going to make it so the user can remove a to-do or remove a project. So if I want to remove a to-do, I'm going to go and hover over the to-do, and then I can see the trash icon. If I click on it, then to-do is been removed. Now I can also remove a project. So if I click on this edit button here, then this X button shows up. Now if I click on other, for example, the project will be removed, and also all the to-dos under that project must be removed. So this to-do here and this to-do here will be removed when I click on remove other. So if I click on this, now you've seen that they have been removed. Another thing, if I go and show the to-dos under the work project, when I click on remove the project work, the to-dos must be removed, and then there is no work project, so I don't have to show the work project anymore here. In that case, I'm gonna go and show today. So by default, we're gonna show today. So if I click on this one here, the to-dos will be removed, and now you can see that today is the selected project. So let's go and see how to create this. So to delete a to-do or a project from our database means just deleting a document from our firestore database. So just for you to remember, I'm gonna go and do this again. So we're using Firebase, and then we have set up our client firestore product. Then we've created a database and then start a collection. And inside our collection, we have created some docs. We have a collection called to-dos and a collection called projects. Then the docs are just our projects and our to-dos. Now to remove a doc, which means to remove a to-do or a project, we need to get a reference to that doc we want to remove. To get a reference to the doc, all you need to do is import Firebase first, then say firebase.firestore.collection. Now if we want to remove a to-do, I'm gonna select my collection to-dos. And if you want to remove a project, you're gonna use the collection projects. Then .doc, which needs the document ID. So the document ID here, so we have started a collection and then a document. This is the ID of the document. If you remember, each project here in our collection project has a property called ID, which is the same ID here. Also the same thing for the to-dos. Every to-do is an object which has an ID, which is the ID of a document or the document. So here I have just created a reference to my doc, and then I can go and say delete, and this will delete the doc. So that's so simple, and that's what we are going to do with deleting, or when we delete a to-do. So I'm gonna go to my components folder, then in my todo.js file. This is what we use to render a to-do. Now inside of my todo.js, for the JSX, we have this dev with the class name delete to-do. This is the dev which is responsible to render this icon here, this trash icon. Now all I'm gonna do is add an onClick event to it, and then I'm gonna run a function called delete to-do. This function here takes in the to-do itself. The to-do here is the object. It has a checked property, an ID, a text, and etc. Now I'm gonna go and create my function delete to-do, and I'm gonna use an arrow function. This delete to-do here takes in the to-do as argument, and that to-do is an object. Now all I'm gonna do is import Firebase and then say firebase.firestore.collection, and this time the collection will be to-dos. And then I'm gonna need to create a reference to my doc or to my to-do. Then this doc here needs the ID of the doc I want to remove or delete, and it's gonna be just the to-do.id. And then now that I have a reference to my doc, I'm just gonna say .delete. That's simple. Now I'm gonna do the same thing for a project. So we need to head over our components again into my project.js. So this is the component responsible to render a project. So I'm gonna go into a span with the class name delete. This is the HTML code responsible to render this icon here, this X circle here. So I'm going to add again an onClick event, and I'm going to run a function called delete project. The same thing again, it's going to take in an argument, which is the project object. The project object has three properties, if you remember: the ID and the name and the number of to-dos. So I'm going to go and create my function delete project, and I'm going to use an arrow function. And then it takes in one argument, which is project. Because this is one argument, I don't have to use the parentheses. Now I'm going to go and use Firebase.firestore. The collection this time is going to be projects, then .doc. This time is going to be the project.id, and then simply I'm going to use the delete method, and this will delete the project. But we still need to delete all the to-dos under that project. So if I remove the personal project, I need to remove all the to-dos that the project name is personal. So I'm going to use a then, because this is a promise. So after this resolves, or after this finishes, I'm going to then go and remove all the to-dos. If we have any issue here, any error, and we didn't get to remove a project, then we're not gonna run this at all. So I'm gonna go here and delete all the to-dos under the project.name. So the code here, let's talk about the code here. So I'm gonna go and say Firebase.firestore the collection to-dos. Then I'm gonna use a where clause. So I'm gonna give it here a condition. So I don't want to remove all the to-dos in my collection. I just want to remove the to-dos under the project I'm deleting. So I'm gonna go and look for the to-dos that the field project name is the same as the project.name that I am deleting. So, and then I'm gonna use get to get all the to-dos that verifies this condition here. And after I get that, after this resolves, I'm gonna use a then. Then I'm gonna get a query snapshot, and that query snapshot is an array with all the to-dos or all the docs. Now I need to get the reference to this docs here and then use delete. So I'm gonna use my doc object here, then .ref to get a reference to .doc, and then I'm gonna use delete, and that's gonna delete all the to-dos that the project name is the same as the project name I am deleting. And now one last thing is we need to switch back to default project in some cases. So for example, when the user clicks on personal, then the selected project is gonna be personal. So we are showing all the to-dos and the project personal. Now if the user clicks on delete, we're gonna delete this project here, and then the personal project will still be showing to the user. So we need to switch back to today when the selected project is the same as the project.name that we are deleting. So in this case, if I click on delete, I'm gonna delete the project personal, and I need to go back to today because it doesn't make sense to still showing personal here. So I'm gonna go to my delete project function. So we delete the project, then all the to-dos, and then I'm gonna go and check if the selected project is the same as the project name that I am removing. Then I'm gonna go and set selected project to today, which is our default project. Now the selected project, default project, set selected project, all these we're gonna get them using the context. So now let's go and see this in action. Let's go and open our text editors. Again, before we start, we need the files from the last part, the part 19. So go and copy the link to that part, paste the link to downget, and then click on download. Once you download the folder, run npm install from within that folder, and then you're good to go. So I'm gonna go here and create a new to-do called go for a run. I'm gonna add that under personal. If I click on the trash icon, we can delete that to-do. So let's go and open our text editor, and I'm gonna go to the components folder and then to-do component. So here we need to add an onClick event, and then I'm gonna call a function called delete to-do, and I'm gonna pass the to-do as argument. Now I'm gonna go and create that function. I'm gonna use an arrow function. This takes in the to-do. And then I will need here Firebase, so I need to import Firebase first. So I'm gonna say Firebase, then .firestore, then .collection, it's gonna be todos, and then .doc to-do.id to get a reference to the doc, and then I'm gonna use the delete method. So now if I click on the trash icon, you can see that the to-do has been deleted. I'm gonna add a new one called test to other add to-do, and you can see that we have deleted the to-do. Now I'm gonna go to the projects here. So if I click on this icon here and then click on the X button, you can see that we can't delete any of the projects. So now let's go back to our components folder and then go to the project component, and here we need to add again an onClick event, and then I'm gonna run a function called delete project, which takes in the project object. Now here I'm gonna go and import Firebase again, then I'm gonna create my function delete project. It takes in the project as argument. I'm gonna call Firebase, then .firestore, then .collection, this time it's gonna be projects, then doc, and this needs the ID, which is the project.id, then .delete, and we're good. Now if I go here and add a new to-do called test to personal, if I click on personal here, delete, you can see that the project has been deleted, but the to-do is not. So here we need to delete the to-dos also, so I'm gonna use a then, and then I'm gonna go and say Firebase.firestore, then .collection, it's gonna be to-dos this time, and then .where, the where clause, where the project name of the to-do is the same as the project I am removing, the project.name. And then I'm gonna get all those to-dos, and then after that resolves, I'm gonna go and get my query snapshot, and I'm gonna use a for each on that query snapshot because it's an array which contains all the docs, all the to-dos, and then I'm gonna get a reference to the doc and then use delete. I'm gonna hit save, and then I'm gonna go back here. So I'm gonna add the personal project. Now if I click on delete, you can see that the project has been deleted and also the to-do. That's great. Now I'm gonna go and add a new to-do. I'm gonna type in test to other and add to-do. Now I'm gonna select other. If I remove other, we remove the project. The project is not here, but we still showing the project, which is run. So I'm gonna go and say then, and then I'm gonna check here if the selected project is the same as the project we are removing. If that's the case, we need to set selected project to the default project. We need to get these from or using the context. So we need to get the default project, and then we need to get the selected project also. And here I'm gonna go and to the context because we need to pass down the default project. And we're good. Now I'm gonna go and save this and then try if it's working. So I'm gonna select work. If I click on remove, you can see that after we remove the work, we show today. So that's it for this part. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new. So take care and see you in the next one.